What's going on? Welcome to the Creator Factor podcast. I am the host that loves you the most, Ozeal. And today, by the way, let me go ahead and preface this real quick. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, watching it on YouTube, this is the podcast where we talk all things media, community, and business for business-minded content creators. And, I've been thinking a lot about AI lately, y'all. That big A word. And I'm like, I need to go ahead and reach out to the man or lady, the individual, that thought leader who can help us learn more about AI and, of course, automation. And I found the right man. I got the guy. I know a guy, y'all. And he's here to show us how to, as content creators, leverage the power of AI and automation to 10x our creative and business process. He's the man behind MarkSavantMedia.com and the host of the top-rated podcast, After Hours Entrepreneur, where he breaks down the latest in industry disruption from AI to automation to independent media. Plus, his newsletter, AI Update, helps regular folks stay up to date and achieve massive success, of course, with AI. So, ladies and gents, Creator Factor fam, let's welcome to the show none other than Mark Savant in the building. Mark, what's going on, brother?
Ozeal, what's the deal? Glad to be here.
Ozeal, what's the deal? I need to brand that, bro. Ozeal, what's that? That should be a podcast of its own, man. I mean,
changing lives already. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, listen, man. We were talking, man, and AI is changing lives. Period. And we were talking about how not only for our audience, how it's impacting and influencing the way we operate as content creators, but also just in our daily lives, in our kids' lives, and how this is really going to be a part of the integral daily way of living moving forward. But I'm curious, man, because I know you in the podcasting space. Mark, you've been doing it for a minute. You've been helping a lot of businesses and brands launch podcasts. You help build brands online. AI, bro, give me the origin story. What was it about AI? Give us that moment where you were like, okay, I'm digging this. I need to go ahead and dive deeper into this, and I need to go all in and help other people become more aware of how AI can impact their lives. Break it down.
Well, dude, the data is there. Walmart's planning to automate 65% of their stores within the next 2 years. The World Economic Forum anticipates 40% of the global population, their jobs are going to be displaced within the next 6 years. So we're moving into a new phase of humanity. And, this is not NFTs 2.0. This is not Bitcoin, although I think Bitcoin is a pretty big deal. This is actually life-changing stuff once you start to wrap your head around what large language models do, what Stable Diffusion can do, what AI can do. And if you're not familiar with those terms, that's okay. AI is for everybody. You don't need to be a software engineer. I'm not a software engineer. I like to create YouTube videos. I own a marketing agency. But 2 years ago, I went through what most business owners go through, and I lost a key employee. Team member said, Mark, I'm going to Spain. I'm moving to Spain. I'm going to live my best life in Spain. I'm going to go to university. Sorry, I can't work for you anymore. And so I was like, oh crap, put out a job board, started doing the work myself, became overwhelmed immediately, couldn't find great help for this position. And what I ended up doing, Ozeal, was I started using AI in that workflow. And I was amazed. I saved 90% of my time doing this work immediately. And as soon as I experienced that, I was hungry. So I started looking at other AI tools. I started leveraging them, training my team, letting my team try out different tools. And 3 months later, Ozeal, I left my day job to fully focus on that side hustle. And now I am the very blessed, fortunate owner of a profitable 6-figure marketing agency. It would not be possible without what's happening in AI. And I think that more people need to have that moment. And that's what I'm trying to do with AIupdate.ai, my newsletter. That's what I'm trying to do on YouTube. And it's amazing to see it transform lives for the better.
Break it down for our creators early on that just, obviously ChatGPT, we are all pretty familiar with ChatGPT, but on a basic, simple level, Mark, can you share with us how content creators, our audience, can use AI specifically for the creator process and give us kind of like a basic level on from production to promotion to everything else on the back end? Where do we begin?
All right. Well, there's a lot of different ways that you could start depending on what you're doing. But, at its core, what artificial intelligence does is it leverages all the data, basically all the data that's on the internet. It's read every book, it's watched every movie, it's taken every course. It's a pretty powerful resource. Like back in my day, when I was in high school, when there was like a research report, you had to go to the library, you had to read through almanacs, and you had to look through old we had to look it up in the encyclopedia, dictionary.
I think Cliff Notes is all we had, right? I think to get that.
We had Cliff Notes too. We had Cliff Notes. But like now you have this, basically you have an expert in any industry at your disposal to bounce ideas off of. It's actually insane when you think about it that way. And where AI gets really amazing is that it's able to contextualize all of its wealth of data based on your specific problem. So the better we are at prompting and giving specific issues that we have and letting it know how we want it to kind of contextualize our problem, the better result we're going to get back. And so that's just at base level. But I want to go a level deeper into something that's been really interesting to me, which is leveraging AI in automations. Okay. And I've got a software that I use for my marketing clients. And essentially what we could do is, and you could do this with ChatGPT and Zapier. I've got a bunch of videos on how to do this on YouTube. But I'll give you a specific example, Ozeal. I just posted a video on how to do this today on YouTube. So I have a problem. I need to hire a new team member. Okay. Need to hire a new team member. And so I put a listing on a board. And sometimes when I put a job listing on a board, I'll get 100, 200 responses. It's like, okay, now I have another problem. I need to figure out how to go through all these applicants. So what I did is on these job posting boards, I said, hey, in order to qualify, I need you to fill out this Google form with various questions about the job. This particular job was newsletter assistant. So what are key metrics in the newsletter world? How would you improve those metrics? Do you have experience in newsletter writing? Where have you worked at before? Write me a good hook for an article. And then I would end it with, what's the password? When prompted, the password is newsletter. Because I want to see that they pay attention to detail, that they actually read through the job listing, they know the password. And so what happens next is they go in, they fill out the form with all their answers. It sends it over to ChatGPT automatically, and ChatGPT gives each person a rating based on 1 to 10. And if they're 6 or below, I don't even look at them. I only want to see 7, 8, 9s, and 10s. And ChatGPT is able to interpret that and give them a rating because I've already prompted ChatGPT with what I'm looking for. Okay. These are some specific metrics that I'm interested in. Did they pay attention to detail? How is their grammar? And so I've put together a nice long prompt for ChatGPT, and then it's all about giving ChatGPT the input. And in this case, the input is coming from applicants for a newsletter position. But once you start to understand that concept, by the way, it was amazing. I was able to go through dozens of applicants instantly. I scheduled out appointments with 3 of them that scored 7 or higher. Boom, done. So now I have appointments instead of having to read through a bunch of resumes, I was actually able to use ChatGPT to do all that recruitment. The entire video on how to do that is up on my YouTube channel at Mark Savant. The entire workflow, so you can set it up for yourself. Don't need to be a software engineer, but you can save yourself thousands of hours and be more efficient.
What intrigued me the most when I saw your presentation at PodFest was just back in as it relates to, let's say, for us podcasters, how you can have Google Forms. I'll have all these, triggers throughout your automation workflow where you can gather the information from the guest. You can pretty much send them scheduling links. It's pretty much cutting all the back end and all the things that I'm still kind of doing. And I'm like, if I could just get to a point where I could just set this up, do the heavy lifting once, set it all up, incorporate ChatGPT, and have these automated responses. How easy would it be for our creators to be able to set that up, and just get it done and just don't have to worry about that ever again? And I think that's what I'm excited about the most, Mark, especially for people who are challenged by systems and processes now with these tools. It's going to make our life a lot more efficient. I don't think it's going to replace anybody. I think there's always this fear of like, is it going to replace? I'm like, no, I think it's going to make things more efficient, a lot more faster. And of course, we can save some money along the way as well. So that's what I'm fascinated with, man. I know a lot of content creators that are watching and listening to this, and we're gonna make sure that we link it up in the show notes, all your videos, Mark, because I was just like, okay, I need to get there sooner than later because it's crazy how quickly it's evolving.
Well, and let's be clear, you will be replaced if you're not leveraging these tools because you're not going to be able to compete. I'll give you another example. I was hiring someone a few weeks ago for a graphic design position at my marketing agency.
Okay.
And one of the questions I was asking people, this is before I had the workflow in place too, by the way, this would have saved me a lot of time. But I was taking on all these meetings with potential graphic designers. And one of the questions that I'd ask is, hey, how are you using AI to generate graphics? And a few of the people had mentioned, I don't really use AI. I don't like it. I just do it. I just use Canva, or I used to use Adobe, which, by the way, there's a lot of AI tools already integrated into those systems. Canva just dropped a new tool. But as soon as someone said, I'm not using AI to create graphics, they're unhireable. I cannot hire you. Even if I like you, I cannot hire you because it's going to take you 10 times longer to do something than someone that's using the right tools is going to be able to use, right? It's like showing up to a construction site with a screwdriver and someone else has a power drill. You're not going to be able to compete. So I didn't hire people because of that specifically. There was a guy I liked, but I was like, he's not using AI. I cannot hire him. And even this is even gets better, Ozeal, because in the business world, it's numbers, it's profit and losses, right? Because and I understand that if it's going to take you 3 hours to create a graphic, for example, I'm going to need to pay you at minimum $15 an hour, let's just say, assuming you're not overseas where you can work for lower amount. But if you're living in the States, you need to be getting $15, $20, $25 an hour to take on that job, right? Well, it's going to cost me it's going to cost me $70, $60 for you to make that one piece of art. Whereas I could hire someone overseas that knows how to use AI and they can do it in 10 minutes. So it goes from costing me $3 to produce the graphic to $60 to $70 for the graphic. Nothing against you. You could be very talented, but if you're not using the right tools, you're not going to be equipped. So this has become really important to me because there's hundreds of millions of people out there in the world, might be listening to this now, that you don't know where to start, or you're scared of the new thing, or you've been doing it one way. You got to squash that right now because a tidal wave is coming. And you've got to be ready to adapt. And it's become really important. I'm not so much worried about the Terminator coming in and nuking me. I'm worried about hundreds of millions of people out of work because they didn't adapt fast enough and they're not sure how to use these tools. Got to learn now.
What's your current like AI tech stack, brother? Like, what does that look like? Because one of the things that I'm finding challenging is that I'm just getting overwhelmed with so many tools emerging. I feel like almost daily, and I'm like, that looks amazing. That's amazing. Oh my god! Like, I feel like it's just quickly like moving quick. I'm like, oh my god, I can't keep up. Is there like a really like for creators that are like, okay, let's give me a good like just tech stack of AI tools that they could start using for graphic design, for obviously ChatGPT for captions and titles. But are there any others that are like, okay, this is something that we should be using as creators? Any recommendations?
Yeah, well, I'm blessed to have a nice team, and anytime I'm talking to app developers all the time. And so if an AI app comes across my desk, I'll pay for it, let my team test it out, see how they like it. So my focus, my agency right now has been hyper focused on producing content at scale, tons and tons of content, right? Okay. Breaking up 30-minute Zoom videos into YouTube, email, blog, Instagram, podcast, etc. So I'll just go through a handful of tools that we're using, and you can get all these tools at aiupdate.ai. By the way, everything that I'm using, aiupdate.ai. But Descript is amazing for chopping up short videos, for text. Riverside FM is great for remote recording. It's like Zoom, but it incorporates different AI tools like captions and clip generators. Opus Clips is really good for creating short video clips. I still love ChatGPT. There's just infinite things you can do with ChatGPT. We can get into that. That's, by the way, I think, Ozeal, it's really easy to get overwhelmed in this AI race. There's always a new AI tool coming out. Like, it's Gemini this week. No, it's Llama. It's Claude. No, it's Grok.
11 labs and there's so many. On and on and on.
But in the chatbot world, I think just picking one and using it on a regular basis is really powerful. I love
Mhm.
ChatGPT
Okay.
personally. It integrates with a lot of stuff. You can automate it with a lot of stuff. And quite frankly, a lot of the AI tools that you're probably using are powered by the OpenAI
Yeah.
ChatGPT engine anyway. Not to mention, oh gosh, I get really excited about this stuff because
I love
it's
it,
just
man.
it's so insane what you can do. But anyway, those are a
Yeah.
bunch of tools that I'm using in my tech stack for content creation. Cast Magic is great for taking
Yep.
like a video and just creating tons of content. I know the app developer over at Swell that does a similar thing, takes a video or audio. He has a cool thing.
Cody, right? Cody is out there
Yeah,
as well. Yep.
Cody at Swell. So
Yep.
we're looking at doing somewhat of a partnership, but he's got that tool can take all the content from an entire. I haven't executed on this, but this is something I'm breaking down very soon. Taking all the bulk of all my podcast episodes, again, going to Swell, saying, upload all the transcripts from this channel, go to my YouTube channel, take all the content from my YouTube channel, put it into a nice little transcription platform,
Mm.
and then it can create just tons of data, which can be used to program an AI bot. So I can take that, I can upload all the PDF of all my transcripts to ChatGPT. And then anybody that wants to know anything about my podcast can just go to my GPT, the After Hours Entrepreneur GPT, for example, and say,
Mhm.
how often does Mark talk to Pat Flynn? And it'll be like, well, Mark's talked to Pat Flynn on episode 25, 100, 300, 410. What does Mark say about it? And I think that's something that's going to become really important, is being able to program these AI tools very quickly and efficiently.
Yeah.
And by transcribing all of your creative work, that's a great opportunity.
Any ones that tools that pop up in mind, since I also want to focus on YouTube, my YouTube growth this year. Any graphic design oriented tools for our YouTube video content creators that you find to be very helpful in creating these catchy thumbnails?
I think Canva is
Canvas,
probably
so that's built in. Yeah.
I think it's the industry leader. They just released a big update last week. So they're doing a lot of things with AI there. Adobe has a lot of AI plugins like Adobe Photoshop. Full disclosure, I just don't do a lot of editing these days. I'm focused more on, personally, I'm focused more on the psychology,
Mhm.
what I see that's working, what's working in my videos. I think, honestly, for YouTube thumbnails, I think less is more a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, I see some YouTube thumbnails that are just so many words, but I think big face, 2 to 3 words. You need to have a good hook. Words like shocking or hacks or theft, things like that. Things that are like steal this idea. Like you want to kind of use some words and
Attention
some verbs
grabbing
there.
words. Right. Right. Big
Exactly.
bold words. Love it. Okay. How can creators, brother, like how can we creators, find that balance between leveraging automation AI tools and maintain a personal touch in our content? As you know, there's a big fear of crap. If I just do all this automation and let all these bots take over, I'm not going to be involved anymore. How much, like, what's the ratio of removing yourself and still keeping that personal touch without getting too AI focused?
Well, I
Thoughts on
mean,
that?
look, my goal is to remove myself 100% and just
Okay.
let AI do it
Keep it
all.
real. Keep it real. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'd love that, because then I can work on other projects. I can spend time with my family. So,
And you can teach, right, Mark? If I'm not mistaken, you can teach AI, to speak and to share, right, within your language, right, with your tone and your voice, correct?
oh,
And
100%.
it's getting better
Exactly.
and better. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, better and better every day. The better you are at programming your
yeah.
AI chatbot or your AI tool, the better result you're going to get out.
Mhm.
And I think that's where I'm at. Like, how do I get myself to 100%? The AI handles everything from the ad copy to the posting to the review to the to the funnel to the follow-up emails even to the sales call itself. Like,
Yeah.
how do I infuse AI into every single step so that it gets to the point where I can just sit back and watch the machine work? The challenge, as you had mentioned, is people still want that human touch. We still
Yeah.
want that personalization there. So, as we're at now, I think a lot of things are going to be, 60% human, 40% AI. But I think as we continue to develop answers and solutions, because like, again, if you're in business, whether you're creator, entrepreneur, mastermind leader, like you always need to be finding edges on how to save yourself more time.
Yeah.
It's all about saving yourself time. And the better you are at saving time, by the way, the more money you have, the more valuable your time is. Right? Let me repeat that.
Yeah.
The more money you have, the more valuable your time is. The more you value your time. Okay. And the better, and I learned this from Hormozy a few years ago. If you solve rich people problems, they're going to pay better. It's easy. Solve rich people problems, they pay better. So the better you are at saving people time, the more money you're going to be able to make, because there's a premium on time, right? And so that's what I think about. Now, let me give you something practical, like, because that's again where my head's at. If I want to save someone 100% of their time, I'm going to be invaluable. I'm going to make lots and lots of money. And wife is going to be really happy. But something that I think is really practical, and I think a natural progression for creators is, I'm good at recording videos. I'm good at doing podcasts. I'll sell my services to other people, right?
Yeah.
That was my natural progression. I got good at recording video and editing videos, so I started doing it for other people. People noticed and they want to sell it to me. But one of the things that happens when you meet with someone says, "Hey, Mark, I want to hire your agency to produce videos for me." Say, "Okay, great. What's next? What's next, Mark?" "Well, we need to sit down. We need to have a consultation. It's going to be an hour and a half. I need to learn all about your business and all about that. And I'll come up with some scripts and some ideas." What if I told you could skip all that? What if I told you could skip all that? And I'll give you another perfect example.
Please do.
I had a client who runs a dance studio, and she said, "Hey, I'd like to have you come over and shoot some video at my dance studio." I said, "Sure, great, sounds good. Go ahead and here's the payment. Here's the payment link. Go ahead and fill out a form about your business, who you are, who do you serve, what makes you unique, when did you establish your business, what are some frequently asked questions." I had her fill out this form, sends it over to, again, all automated. You can see all this stuff on my YouTube channel, teach you exactly how to do it. That's Mark Savant on YouTube. Sends it over to ChatGPT. ChatGPT writes out the scripts for 10 videos, and it gives me, it writes out the titles of 20 more videos that she should consider writing. So, and by the way, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So what she does now, and it also emails her all this information automatically emails her. So she gets the email back. She goes, "Mark, this is amazing. I'm going to make some tweaks. I'll see you next week at 3 o'clock, whatever the time was." So I show up. She already has her scripts. She already knows what she wants to say. She already has ideas of a bunch of short form videos. I hit record. She's good to go. She just goes. And then I can say, like, give me some more energy here or the lighting there. So it took out all that consultation work, all that script writing, all that idea formulation, which is very labor intensive. All done instantly by ChatGPT. And then she could take it from there.
That's insane. Yeah, you got my wheels turning on that. You got me excited on that one.
And Let me give you another example.
Give it to me, man. I'm loving these examples, by the way, Mark. Keep it coming.
I'll give you another example. Maybe you're doing consultations, YouTube consultations, and you can have, again, same thing. Business owner just fills out a form, sends it over, and I use Zapier again to connect ChatGPT to the form, sends it over to ChatGPT, and you've programmed ChatGPT with, like, based on all the data that you get, act as my YouTube expert. And I want you to really focus in on their goal with YouTube, and what type of hooks will convert, and what type of video, what are a list of 10 different types of videos. You can have, if you're an expert in your topic, you train ChatGPT with all of your prompts, and then all the inputs from the business owner go into ChatGPT. ChatGPT will spit out insanely good, insanely articulate information, because it's been trained on the internet, bro. It's been trained on the internet. Then all I need to do is I need to review it, and maybe I don't, but I like to review the information. I'll make tweaks here and there, educate myself on what ChatGPT is saying. Then I send it over to the client. Then the client, and I think this is where people don't really understand what's happened. In the past, this was all done by checking off check boxes.
Yeah.
You're clicking check boxes, you're filling out polls, stuff like that. Well, you don't need to do that anymore. You can create custom solutions and custom answers to custom responses. And that, I think, is where the magic is. That's where the magic is, because now I save myself all that consultation time that the business owner doesn't want. That the business owner wants a result. They don't want to sit there in a Zoom room with you for an hour and a half, for 90 minutes, and then you spend another 90 minutes after that putting together a proposal and all that. Just do all that before, send it over to him and say, hey, we can execute on this. It's going to be $5,000 a month. You want to go? Let's go.
Again, making things a lot more efficient. Just stepping over all that stuff that we used to do manually. And I remember racking my brain and spending way too much time. And I know for a lot of creators that are consultants and coaches, you feel me on this, how we're just constant trying to figure out how to bring the value and trying to do everything on the back end. And then we're sitting on it and we're tweaking. And now we can use AI tools to be able to automate this with some nice prompts, get them ready to go, and then just send them out. And I think what we're doing, not only are we saving ourselves time, Mark, but we're also giving them, we're 10xing the value we're giving to our clients, bro.
Right.
I mean, now we're really could pack them up and like really outline it and give them so much value to where like, wow, now have like weekly, content or, these weekly deliverables that are high valued. Because why? Because they've been trained. These AI tools are super smart. And they know exactly what to do and what to say and how to craft this. I'm like excited. I'm thinking of it from because I do consulting, so I'm thinking of how can I use AI tools from a consulting, even bypass the discovery, and how to just make it to where it's like, all right, this is what it is. These are deliverables, and let's go ahead and lock it in and get started. I'm just, yeah, man.
It's crazy, dude.
Got me
It's
fired up.
And before you're getting on a consulting call with them, with your client, they're probably filling out a form or a survey, or even answering questions on a calendar, for example. You send it over to chat. You could do this automatically or manually. And you could even do stuff like, hey, ChatGPT, act as my consulting expert. This is what my client does, and I want to put together a solid plan. Make sure you do a SWOT analysis. Give me a marketing plan based on Donald Miller's story brand. Give me some strategies based on whatever, Gary Vaynerchuk's day trading attention book. And you could just actually leverage, quite frankly, what most consultants do and what most great business books do is they take ideas from other business books and that other people have created and they repackage it. It's amazing to me. I'll be reading a book and said, I just read the same exact thing last year. It just had a different package on it. And I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. I
think we all do it, right? I mean, we all do it. I mean, we're all kind of remixing it and adding our own tone, our own experiences and perspective to it. So I think it just happens. I love that. I didn't know. See, again, it's all the magic is in the prompting is what I'm hearing, right? Mark is just really understanding how to give ChatGPT these prompts to get the great output that we need. Right.
Once you get the output, the possibilities are endless. Endless. You can automatically send it to an email. You can create custom image. You can even have it automate custom images. You can write blog articles. You can, you can add that information to spreadsheets and use the spreadsheets. You can. My mind is like going a million miles an hour right now. And I wish I could tell you all the different things I'm working on, but I have so many different things in the can. But like I'm implementing all of this within my marketing software and, helping clients deliver better funnels and lead magnets. And I mean, I'm working on one now, because I think a lot of business owners recognize there's like 5 million hits a month on YouTube for people interested in AI content. And because a lot of people are concerned, they know that AI is going to impact their business. So I'm working on a form now that rates your preparedness. Like, how ready are you for AI? And it's going to be a series of 10 different questions, and it's going to assess your responses and give you a game plan, an action plan that's going to all be automated. It's going to put people into a funnel. And, the business mark is, okay, people based on their answers, some of them are going to qualify for my consulting services. Some of them are going to qualify for my marketing services. And I can actually start to implement some of these ideas and then share all those ideas out on YouTube and on the AI update newsletter. So it's a very special time. It's a very special time.
let me ask you this. This is so, you have, obviously you're running a marketing agency, you have a podcast, you have you're dedicating some time to the newsletter content. You have quite a few things that you're working on, Mark, and I'm sure there's a few other projects out there. You know, how do you personally, man, like how do you balance like all the projects that you're doing now? How much of AI is actually involved in facilitating that? But I'm just curious to know, like as an entrepreneur, like how are you managing your time and your energy to do all those projects and executing them at full capacity?
Well, it's really difficult. It's really difficult. And plus, I have two young kids. I see these 20-year-olds out there that are like single 20-year-olds, and they're just like crushing it. They're working 16 hours a day,
Yeah.
putting in the time. I wouldn't necessarily call it a luxury, but I don't necessarily have that because my priority is with my family.
Yeah, and speak
Um,
on that because we have a lot of creators that also like I'm a dad as well, and we have a lot of creators in our space that also have some full-time jobs. They have kids, and they're trying to build a business, a creator-centric business. And that's why I ask you that question because I know it can be difficult, especially for creators that are trying to transition from the day job to becoming a full-time content creator. So speak on that a little bit, man.
well, I mean, part of it's being clear on your goals and your vision and your
Mm,
mission, you know. And I think also importantly, making sure that your partner, your spouse, is in on that vision. I was I was traveling to DC last month. I was invited by Meta to go to a part of a small business organization within Meta. So they paid for the flight, they paid for the hotel, the food, got to meet with Marco Rubio's staff. And on the way up, I was like, it would be cool to be a congressman. It'd be cool, just to sit in the Capitol building and to meet all these people and to be on. That would be cool. Cool. And I was talking to my wife. I'm like, but my life doesn't match up with traveling and being in DC every week and doing that's not where my life is lined up. Like that's not what God's calling for me is. I think I can do more good for humanity by sharing all my best stuff on podcasts, on YouTube, on the AIupdate.ai newsletter. So I think that's an important thing. The other challenge is, there's so many different things that we're working on. Like I've got this huge list. I got Post-its everywhere.
I love it.
Um, but one of the things that I like to do is when I go to bed at night, um, I like to write down on a Post-it and put it right on the front of my desk. Like this is I must complete this today.
Mm,
Right. So I try to break it down into like must complete this day, this week, this
okay.
month, this quarter, and in actually reverse engineer from that. I start out with like, what do I really want to get done this quarter? And then I can break it down by month, by week, and then by day, because it's really easy. It's really easy. And quite frankly, an important part of that is being able to say no. I was leading a mastermind group for the last couple of years, and it just got to a point where I wasn't able to spend the time in there that I
Yeah.
wanted to, and I wasn't
Yeah.
able to give people the experience that I needed to. And I said, y'all, there's like 2 dozen of us in here. I'm going to go ahead and freeze it for now. I'm going to close it down. I'm going to refund you for whatever you've already paid for. I'm going to close it down for now because really my heart is in developing this AI software and delivering for my marketing clients. And then, once I really get this humming and rolling, we'll look at picking up in the future. But you have to be okay with saying no to some things. If you say
Yeah.
yes to everything, it's a recipe for disaster.
That landed with me, man, because I'm going through a season. Obviously, I love podcasting and I do consulting, and I'm doing a bunch of things, and I've gotten some speaking engagements, and it's been kind of coming at me all at once, especially last month. And I've talked about this with my community members, and I also run here a group called Pod Houston, where I do in-person event for local creators here in Houston, Texas. And I was like, man, there's so many opportunities. And then I had an idea for this membership, and I'm like, there's seasons for everything, And I
Yeah.
think one of the hardest things, and I'm sharing this, and I'm glad that you were speaking on this because I know a lot of creators want to do it all, but you just can't do it all at once. And sometimes there's seasons. And as you said, the art of saying no. Sometimes we just got to say no. No doesn't mean that you will never get to it. It means it may be just no for this season, and you can always get back to it if it's part aligned with the purpose, because we're always evolving. And I think there's a time and place for everything. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like a lot of creators put a lot of pressure on themselves to to try to do it all at once. And I think it's all about aligning it with where you're at and your lifestyle. I think that's something to note.
It was really hard for me
No,
to close down that group.
I know.
Because I
would do the same thing.
I felt like a failure. I felt like people are going to think I'm a failure. I'm a failure.
Yeah.
But then I said, you know what?
Yeah.
It's just about priorities.
That's it.
There's a concept of pruning. I read in a book. The book is called Necessary Endings. And there's this concept of pruning in that if your goal is to generate the best rows possible, I want the most perfect rows to be the most valuable, it's the most beautiful rows. This requires you to prune your tree. You need to prune your rose bush. And that means cutting out the dead stems. It means cutting out sick stems. And it means cutting out stems that are just not optimal. They're not your most perfect stem. If you want the best rows, you need to say no to things and you need to prune your bush. I don't know if that came off the right way. Pruning.
I love it.
But you got to prune, baby.
You need prune to prune your bush. That'll be the title, bro. That's it. That's a thumbnail, right there.
Prune your bush. All right.
It's essential Mark says, prune your bush, y'all.
Prune the bush, baby. Everyone will be happy, especially your wife.
Where's my button? I love that. My man, we're gonna go ahead and land the plane on this one, man. And I ask all my guests this last question. That was awesome, by the way. This last question here for our creators, man. If there's one creator factor that every content creator should learn and master, what would that be?
Hooks. If you're not getting any views, if you're not getting new views, you focus on the hook. Focus on the hook.
Break that down.
Well, we live in a world where everyone can create, which is amazing. It's not just like turning on the TV and there's 10 channels, right? There's infinite channels essentially. And so, you need to be able to stop, when it comes to YouTube, social media, where most all the content is happening, you need to stop the scroll with a good thumbnail, a good image, with good copy that makes someone interested. And then the first 3 seconds of either their reading or their consuming needs to be good. You need to get good at the hook. I'm kind of in YouTube mode right now because I think that it might be the best place for organic reach right now based on what I'm seeing.
I'm with you.
And so it's all about, I think starting with the hook is really important. And, not being afraid to pivot when it's necessary. I was creating YouTube content about podcasting for years and it never really landed. I start talking about what I'm doing with AI and all of a sudden I'm reaching hundreds of thousands of people. It's nuts. It's bananas, but it's because
relevancy,
hook. I have a unique knowledge because most people, when they talk about AI, they're just kind of flavor of the month. This empowered me to quit my job. This is saving me hundreds of hours every week. It's literal life-changing stuff. And, I don't know. I could go on and on.
Hooks. I love it. No, I love that, man. I think that's super important. I think it gets overlooked by a lot of creators, especially that just want to slap on a caption or just a title and don't invest in how to hook. Because at the end of the day, whether you're a YouTube video content creator or a podcaster, we are in the intention game. We're all trying to get attention. And if we don't have hooks in this fast scrolling, mobile phone, world that we're living in now, we're gonna miss the mark. We're not gonna get the results that we're achieving. So I'm glad that you mentioned hooks. That's something that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting AI, bro. I was like, here's an easy layup, Mark. Like hooks, baby.
And by the way, you can change hooks. I almost always change titles to YouTube videos and thumbnails to you.
People don't know they could do that, by the way. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mark, because you can do that, y'all.
Oh, it's fine. I posted this on my LinkedIn the other day or on social. Like I had a video that was just like, it wasn't really hitting. I'm like, this should be doing better. I went in, I changed the thumbnail and the title, and all of a sudden,
boom,
it popped off.
That's it.
So don't be afraid to go in and change up your thumbnails and titles. In fact, I think that you probably should be.
You should. Yeah, I agree. Dude, I can't let you go. Here's a bonus question, man. I can't let you go without answering this question, especially you and I being podcast guys and you being in the podcast space for a minute. You know, what are your thoughts, brother? Like, what are your thoughts? Podcasting has evolved, has changed since I know you're an OG, you've been in the space for quite some time. Where do you see podcasts going in regards to number one, just as a medium, but also as a brand builder moving forward in this new kind of video centric YouTube video podcast space? Where do you see the future of podcasting going, bro?
Well, it's where I see podcasts now, and again, this is coming from someone who's produced thousands,
Yeah.
maybe even tens of thousands of podcast episodes. I've personally recorded well over 600, 700 podcast episodes.
You're an OG, man. You've been in it.
I've been in it for a minute. And I don't see, I don't think your focus should be on the podcast itself. I think the focus should be on developing a system where it's all about saving time. I think that our focus is business owners and creators should be saying, how can I sit down for 30 minutes? How can I sit down for an hour and create as much as possible in that time? So, just for an example, we're recording a YouTube video here, right? This could be a podcast. It could be 2 or 3 podcasts. It could be a blog article. It could be emails. It could be several YouTube videos. It could be 5 dozen YouTube shorts. They could be Instagram posts. I can use this data to train my AI model. I can use this. So there's these, and I'm not saying that you can't have like a model where you just sit down and you only record podcasts, but I don't think I think that the smart usage of your time, and I'll summarize it with this. All of your social media content should not be promoting your podcast. Your podcast should be promoting your social media. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to drive people off of TikTok to go listen to your hour-long podcast. It's not going to work. But the value that you get from sitting with someone and chatting with them or teaching a topic and then leveraging the power of creative to create tons of content off that, I think that's where the power is. So yeah, I think that's the way we should be thinking about it. I don't care if someone listens to my podcast or reads my newsletter or watches me on YouTube. I don't really care as long as they're consuming. And that's kind of where my head's at.
MarkSavantMedia.com. AI Update is the newsletter. AIupdate.ai. Go ahead and subscribe to the newsletter to get updated. I'm about to subscribe myself because I want to get updated on all the latest tools and innovation. And it's important, as Mark says, if you're not using AI or at least practicing flirting with it right now, you're going to get left behind. And we said that about video back then when they were ignoring video, and look where it's going. It's becoming very, very, very video centric in marketing and just the way people are consuming information these days. Of course, After Hours Entrepreneur Podcast is the podcast. Again, we're going to make sure that we link up all that in the show notes, along with everything that I've been watching. I've been, again, going down the rabbit hole of Mark, your YouTube channel. And there's a lot of great YouTube videos where Mark breaks down his automation process and some of the tools that he's using in his agency. So highly, highly recommend that you check that out and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button. Mark, my man, it's been a pleasure, brother. I know we run in the same circle. I've been seeing you from afar. And, I appreciate you just accepting my friendship and our connection, and of course, to be on the Creator Factor podcast, brother. So I look forward to following you on your journey and supporting you along the way, my man.
It's my pleasure, Ozeal. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Take care, man. Peace.